What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about what some folks in the community are claiming could ruin Black Ops 6. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and as a big reminder, there's the brand new Deadshot Daiquiri Collector's Can available over on Control Freak's website. You can use code Dynamite to save 10% off any order on Control Freak, including for this brand new Deadshot Collector's Can. You get the limited edition thumbsticks within the can itself, and a code within the package that'll give you an in-game charm for free. And yes, I'm not kidding, you get a literal Deadshot Daiquiri can, which is going to be amazing for any hardcore zombies fan out there. They're probably only going to be available for a limited time, so pick these up while they are still available. With that, there's also plenty of brand new article coverage going up on detonated.com for those that want to stay up to date with all things Call of Duty. We got a lot of new makeovers coming to the site over the course of this summer. Really excited about all of that. But this is, of course, another episode of my new quote series that I started for Black Ops 6, taking some crazy community claims and just taking the time to dissect and debunk those claims within a full-length commentary. So I made a few videos for this series already, such as Black Ops 6 is Modern Warfare 2 DLC, or Black Ops 6 Zombies is just reused multiplayer maps, and even the video Alex Mason is still alive. These were outrageous claims that I just had to make videos about, and tonight is another one of those episodes. So first off, this is something that I'm not a big fan of, and I'm not agreeing with, but this isn't something that I think is going to ruin Black Ops 6 overall, and this is the fact that you apparently can't play local play within Black Ops 6. You always have to have an internet connection to play the game itself, even campaign, and that is the fact that the Black Ops 6 campaign will be using texture streaming, as does every other game mode, so you have to have a premium subscription service such as Game Pass Core, or what is now Game Pass Standard, or even PlayStation Plus. That's unfortunate, and I get it. Servers can go offline and you get booted off of playing the campaign. I get why that doesn't make sense, and I get why it's a problem, but is it something that ruins Black Ops 6 overall? The answer is no, because the game will be predominantly played by people out there that have an internet connection. I'd say, although there are a good amount of folks in the world that don't have access to good internet or internet at all, that still isn't a majority of the player base. Now, I'm not saying that because they're not a majority or because they're not nearly half the player count that they shouldn't have access to the game offline. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying this isn't that big of a problem that I think maybe can't get resolved at some point. Maybe there will be a point in time later in the cycle or even before that where they could make it at least an option to play the campaign offline without texture streaming. Never say never, but it was also reported that split screen will only be available on current gen hardware and will be limited to 2 players only. It's not going to be like back in the day where you can have 4-player split screen on any platform of your choice, but I think unfortunately with how advanced technology is becoming and how priorities are changing along the lines of how game development works, I think it's only going to get crazier from this point on, where features like that become something more of the past as we enter newer generations of consoles with more demanding games like Black Ops 6. But this next point is something that I have already made a full video about, but I want to touch on it again with a little bit of different context. So the fact that Black Ops 6 is a part of COD HQ and the unified engine, although that can come off as scary to some people out there who aren't a fan of how current Call of Duty titles are laid out and organized with a game like MW2, Warzone, or DMZ, although that it sounds scary, Black Ops 6 is a part of COD HQ, we were reminded at the Treyarch event a couple of weeks ago that Black Ops 6 isn't on the MW engine or just on COD HQ. Black Ops 6 is a part of the unified engine, which makes it easier for all devs to help each other out, whereas COD HQ is just the launcher, but doesn't have to look the way that it does right now for Black Ops 6, and it actually likely won't. As I talked about in a previous video, there's already images surfacing that we pulled from the Black Ops 6 Direct that show how different Black Ops 6 could be laid out compared to current CODs in the COD HQ menu. So despite sharing an engine or sharing a launcher, that doesn't mean that Black Ops 6 can't have an identity, and the game's not going to be ruined because of the UI. Treyarch clearly will put their own spin on it and will make sure that it's the best version of COD HQ that we've seen in a while. But I think it'd be more reasonable to complain about this if, let's say, we had the Warzone 1 issue where you update one game and other ones break. That's not an issue anymore, right? It's not going to be a case where, oh, Warzone got an update and it broke Modern Warfare 19, or Colder Multiplayer got an update and Vanguard just broke. We're not going to see that anymore because of this shared technology. But this next one's a big one, right? Skill-based matchmaking. I'm aware there was supposed to be an article published in June by Activision and the blog team talking more about the matchmaking. I'm aware that didn't happen. Maybe that'll get posted at some point later. Maybe it just kind of got swept under the rug a little bit, or priorities took over and they just didn't have enough time. Who knows? But like I said before, with those other blog posts they've released about matchmaking, they can come out and explain how matchmaking works. There will still be people who say that that's not actually true, or that, they've experienced matchmaking much more aggressive than what is being claimed. Either way, providing transparency is what the community asked for, but isn't going to solve the problem people think exists. People think that it's just a switch that could be pulled to turn off SBMM, and without going off on a big tangent again, SBMM has been in every Call of Duty since Black Ops 2, but obviously became a little bit different and much more aggressive following the release of Modern Warfare 2019. It's not Treyarch's decision, it's not their responsibility, that's definitely higher up that handles the matchmaking. But like I mentioned before, I think we're going to see a similar issue to Cold War, where the multiplayer is just so solid, where there really aren't many complaints, to where people just resort to, oh, SBMM, or oh, the game's good, but matchmaking has ruined it, and my lobbies are too sweaty. That's probably what you're going to see with Black Ops 6. Now, I'm not saying Cold War was perfect. The game obviously didn't release with enough 6v6 maps, but that was an issue that was quickly fixed, I think, with Season 1 and Season 2. So at that point, there were really no complaints about Cold War MP until weapon balancing became an issue later on in the year. But either way, skill-based matchmaking isn't going anywhere, and the best thing we can hope for is that there will be an option to stay in the same lobby you just played in. This is a feature that Modern Warfare 3 just recently introduced. That, to me, at least combats and turns off a portion of skill-based matchmaking, but the system overall just isn't ever going away. Next up, bundles and wacky skins. So because there's no carry forward in Black Ops 6 from MW to the new game, you're not going to see a bunch of wacky, crazy, animated reactive skins day one. You will instead have a very serious tone throughout all the operator selections, at least for the first couple of weeks before the first season releases. But without a doubt, it's inevitable wacky skins end up releasing throughout the year. Treyarch themselves already confirmed it to the press. Not surprised about that when those are the skins that sell the best, but is that something that's going to ruin Black Ops 6? Absolutely not, right? Could there be a feature introduced where you can maybe turn off the ability to see other people's crazy cosmetics? Maybe that'll be a feature that helps, but I just don't think that's a big enough issue that really could ruin a Call of Duty. I understand people that are frustrated with like the tone and direction of the game and then kind of being taken out of that immersion because of crazy skins, but I think if a majority of people in the world are buying those skins, clearly that isn't a big enough issue to ever change anything to begin with. Now, it's like I've also said before, if bundles keep selling, that's just going to keep funding our post-launch content, right? Instead of going back to a season pass or map packs, we have free massive seasonal updates because bundles are making all the MTX money. Now, this next one is something that I feel like just comes off as ungrateful from a lot of folks. The fact that Black Ops 6 is launching with 2 round-based maps, you've had folks coming out and saying, oh, well, 4 years of development, why are we only getting 2 maps at launch? Why not 3? Why not 4? Shall I remind you, Black Ops 4 released with 4 round-based maps day one, and if not for the blue screens and stability, I think you would have saw a lot more life and a lot more of a positive reception to that game at launch. But even so, I think when you release too much at once like that, that's just very overwhelming for quite a few folks out there, and if anything, people are just going to speedrun through content on each of the maps, and then after a week or two, they're going to say the game's dead, when's the next map, and then you just create an issue where even when they release one map every, 2.5 to 3 months, that won't be enough for those folks that are already overwhelmed. Black Ops 4, I think, could have solved an issue by releasing with just Blood of the Dead and Classified maybe, or maybe one Ether map, one Chaos map, and then maybe every other week after that release the other maps that were supposed to be available for launch. That to me would have made more sense, spread things out better, and probably would have helped stability. But I think instead of seeing multiple round-based maps day one, or more than 2 at least, I'd rather them save a map for maybe as early as Season 1, and maybe not have as big of gaps as we saw between round-based maps in older games like BO3, 4, even Cold War. If more maps are available and ready to go, let's not just drop them all day one. Let's kind of spread things out evenly so that Zombies fans get a healthy amount of content with almost every season. Now, a very recent complaint I saw was about Verdansk. There was a rumor for quite some time that Verdansk was going to be the Season 1 Warzone map once Black Ops 6 integrated with Warzone, and as of recently, those rumors have since changed. Apparently, Verdansk is being delayed till 2025. There's a big space called Avalon that apparently is being saved for next year for the other Black Ops game that's coming out. That's odd considering that's an area that we are going to be seeing in campaign and seemingly multiplayer, but then a new Resurgence map got leaked out called Area 99. And like I said before in my other Warzone video, I'm totally cool with saving Verdansk until March 2025. I'm not saying the map shouldn't come out as a part of the anniversary for Warzone, but the map just doesn't make any sense to be the Black Ops 6 Season 1 big map integration. I don't see how that would make sense at all, and in my opinion, just kind of ruins the whole hype around Black Ops if you're like, hey, here's a Modern Warfare map that Infinity Ward totally made and was at its peak during like Season 5 of MW19, and yeah, the map was still pretty good in Cold War's era, but that's an Infinity Ward map. How would it ruin Black Ops 6 to save that for March 2025, an appropriate date to celebrate the anniversary? Why not let Treyarch shine with their own map instead for Season 1 or even Season 2? It doesn't make sense to even release Verdansk, but again, not sure why that would ruin Warzone in any way. I get people that maybe aren't a fan of Urzikstan right now, but I think that can all be fixed if Urzikstan gets a nice Black Ops makeover, you get a new Resurgence map maybe by Season 1 or Season 1 Reloaded. I think that would help Warzone a lot, since right now we're in a pretty good place gameplay-wise and mechanic-wise. But the last thing I'll end with is Game Pass. This is something that I think is reasonable to bring up, but we're just unsure of what the consequences could be for a day one Game Pass option, because what I've said before on the podcast is if Black Ops 6 will be available day one on Game Pass, which now we know it is, then my only issue with that is that hopefully we don't see something similar to what we've seen in the past now, which is that the base game sales aren't enough, and then what that leads to is not necessarily layoffs and shutdowns within the Activision branch of Microsoft, but then you start seeing other studios shut down, other games canceled because Microsoft didn't rake in enough money to justify keeping certain projects or studios alive. And I'm fully aware we've already seen a lot of layoffs, a lot of issues across the industry as of recently, and that's pretty common whenever a big acquisition happens, but my point is not seeing more of that because Call of Duty won't bring in the same amount of sales that it has in recent years, because so many folks out there will have already been subscribed to Game Pass or will subscribe to Game Pass, which is a full sale of the game that just won't happen. But fingers crossed nothing gets ruined because of the Game Pass integration, and hopefully the entire gaming industry strives once Black Ops 6 releases in October. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. Do you think any of the items I discussed in this video could actually ruin Black Ops 6? I personally don't think so, but let me know what you think about all the claims down below. Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.